Hello BookTube, hello friends, welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and in this video I'd like to talk to you about one of my projects, reading projects for the year 2021. So I've already done a kind of an overall goals video where I talked about the overall goals and projects that I want to do for this year, and I knew that I would need to come back and sort of give you the nitty-gritty of each of those projects, at least a good portion of them. So I'm going to be doing several videos, hopefully over the next few days, that will just give you a little more in-depth look at some of the reading that I'm planning to do for this year. So in this video, I want to talk about authors that I want to binge for 2021, and I have 21 of them. I originally thought I might just do 12, but I have so many books on my shelves, and one of my goals this year also is to try to weed out as many books as I can, and I'm going to be systematically going through my shelves and just looking at each book one at a time and seeing which books I can get on audio and possibly go ahead and listen to those books on audio so that I can move the physical copy out of my house. Now, I'm always going to keep favorites, and also I'm going to keep books that I think I would use again in a video or something like that. But along with my collecting of interesting sounding books, I collect authors. Now, I have quite a few authors still on my shelves that I have not even started reading, and I have quite a few books by them. Most of those are cozy mysteries, and the reason I haven't started them is because I want to finish or catch up with a lot of the series I've already started, so I hate to start new ones, but yet that doesn't stop me from continuing to collect more and more interesting sounding series. So I do hope to get to some of those this year, but what I tried to do was look at the authors that I've collected a lot of books by and see what I could get on audio so that I could just go ahead and get through some of their books and then maybe do some author spotlight videos. Some of them are just, some of them I put on the list because I have so many books and I just want to read them. And some of them, I just want to read them. I think they're going to be great. And if I can get to them faster on audio, that's what I'm going to do. Despite the fact that I said I was going to read less audiobooks this year, I'm going to try to find a balance somewhere. I mean, last year I listened to over 330 audiobooks. So, and that's just audiobooks. That doesn't even count the 94, 95 print books I read. So that was kind of crazy. And this year already in January, I have watched more BookTube. I still want to catch up with some podcasts and things like that. So I'm not going to spend all my listening time on audiobooks, but I'm definitely not going to stop listening because I love audiobooks, and that's the fastest way for me to consume literature. So let's just get started. So I have these mapped out throughout the year. I do have one for January because I did listen to 2 books by this author. I will listen to more, but the only place I could find the majority of this author's work is on Scribd. And you guys know if you have Scribd, they cut you off after a couple of books. So, don't they know that we're trying to get reading challenges done? And it's always the wrong books. I wouldn't care if they cut me off of most of what I have on my saved list, but of course they got to pick the ones that they know I'm most likely to listen to next. Anyway, it's all right. I think Scribd is still a good value, and I will try to remember to put a link down below if you want to try out Scribd and get a little perk for using my link, and I'll get a little perk as well. I don't do that with very many things, but Scribd does offer that, and so as long as it's something that benefits both of us, not just me, then I want to do that. So anyway, I have just the one author for January, and I will continue to listen to that author as Scribd will allow it. And then I have 2 for most every month of the year, except for November and December, I just have 1. And when I say most every month, is because there is 1 month later in the summer that I've got 3, but then another month that I just have 1. And it'll all come out in the wash, as they say. Do they still say that? I know back in my mom's day they said that. Anyway, so let's get started. The first author, the one that I have listened to 2 books in January by, is Charlene and Baumbich. And the series was the Dearest Dorothy or Welcome to Partonville series. I've still got 3 left to read in that series. I only have books 4 and 6. I don't have book 5. It's a Christmas themed book. And, I'm listening to those on Scribd. I also have a couple more of another series by her that I'm interested in. I don't know if they have this one on Scribd or not. But anyway, I want to just continue to read and listen to whatever I can get my hands on by Charlene and Baumbich. The Dearest Dorothy series, or the Welcome to Partonville series, is super cute, and it's about, I think the protagonist is 86 years old, and she's just adorable. So that is an author that I have really just started reading. I read the first Dearest Dorothy book in December of 2020, and so I'm really still new to Charlene and Baumbich. In fact, my apologies, because I used to pronounce her name incorrectly, and after finally listening to one of them on audio, I realized I was saying it wrong. So for February, I have 2. One of them is my second favorite series of all time, and that's the Miss Julia series. I have 5 books to catch up on, and I'm anticipating that there will be one more book released near the end of April that I will want to read. So I want to finish the last 5 of the series that I have not read. I only own 2 of the 5 that I still need to read. Miss Julia Inherits a Mess and Miss Julia Lays Down the Law. At least this one sounds familiar. You know what? No, I have read this one. So I only own one of the ones that I haven't read, because I finished Lays Down the Law. Anyway, these popped up on Hoopla last year, and I'm so excited. And even though I don't own them, I probably will see if my used bookstore has any. And I'm going to be taking some books to there pretty soon. And maybe I can use my credit and get a few more of these if they have some of the newer ones. I own most of them. They're down here, and it's a series I would definitely reread. They're just adorable. Don't start in the middle of Miss Julia. If you've never read Miss Julia, start with Miss Julia... What is the first one? Miss Julia Speaks Her Mind. Okay, that's what I thought it was. Miss Julia Speaks Her Mind. Absolutely don't read a Miss Julia in the middle unless you've read the first one, because that sets up the series. You really need to read that one first. It's wonderful. I highly recommend the series. It's very light. It deals with some hard topics, but in a lighthearted way, and in such a way that you just feel like if someone could overcome what Miss Julia had to overcome in the beginning of the series, you could overcome anything and move on from there and have a wonderful life. So it's great. Then the other author that I want to read is another author who I was mispronouncing her name, Adriana Trigiani. Now, in December, I listened to Kiss Carlo, and I was blown away at how much I enjoyed this. It was clean. There was no bad language in this book, and it's a book about an Italian family, so I guess I was expecting it to be kind of like Soprano-esque, and it just wasn't. It was really good. It was a great story, and so I loved it. Now, the reason I had even picked it up was A, the cover's gorgeous, and B, I recognized the author because I had already collected the whole Big Stone Gap series. It's a series of 4 books, and I have just gotten these at random places. I might have gotten one of these at Dollar Tree because I remember first seeing it there, and then it just looked so cute that I knew I had to search out the rest of the series. So I have these 4, and I think I can get at least 3 of these 4 on audio. I've got the CDs checked out of the first one from my library. I just picked them up today. So this is for February, and I will be listening to this first one, Big Stone Gap, in my car, and then just getting through hopefully this whole series in February. And I'm super excited because I've heard great things about this series, and I can't wait. So for the month of March, I've got some mysteries, of course. If you have not ever heard of March Mystery Madness, you've heard of it now. It is a big, huge booktube event that takes place in the month of March, and this is going to be our 6th year, and it's fantastic. It's just a whole month of reading mysteries, and I am super excited. We are gearing up right now, trying to nail down exactly what the prompts are going to be and get the graphics ready and all that, and we'll be rolling out the announcements hopefully very soon. So I have picked 2 authors that I have quite a few books by. In fact, probably my most owned author, with the exception of maybe Rick Riordan. My most owned author, I think, is Laura Childs. I have most of the books from all 3 of her Cozy Mystery series, and I have hardly read any of them. I have read the first of the scrapbooking series, and here's the second one called Photo Finished. This series recently showed up on Hoopla, and I'm so excited. I can't wait. I love scrapbooking. I haven't done it in ages, but I love it, and I want to read this series. And then even before that, the Cackleberry Club series showed up on Hoopla, and I have not read any of these, but I've collected at least 6 of them out of 8 or 10 that are there. I've got a lot of them, and so I'm excited to read those. I have started the Tea Shop Mysteries. I've read 2 or 3 of those, but I don't know if those are on Hoopla yet or not. If they are, I might read another one of those, but mainly I just, if I can get some of those done from those other 2 series, I'm going to be a happy camper. And another series that I have started, I read the first one several years ago. I remember reading it on an airplane, and I never fly, but I read the first in the Bibliophile Mysteries by Kate Carlisle. It was Homicide in hardcover, and the second book, If Books Could Kill, is the next one. Most of these are on Hoopla, I believe, and so I will listen to some of these in March for March Mystery Madness. And so then that brings us to April. Well, Sarah from The Bookish Knitter and myself started a tiny little readathon in the month of April. I think this will be our 3rd or 4th year now, called Amish in April. It's just a week later in April after we've had time to kind of regroup from March Mystery Madness, and we just kind of did it because I hadn't even read a lot of Amish books in a long time before starting Amish in April. And Sarah had not ever read any, but she had some on her shelves. And, I love alliterations because we'd been doing March Mystery Madness. I love Nonfiction November, and just anything that has an alliteration in the title I think is cool. And so one of you guys suggested Amish in April, and I was like, hey, sure, why not? So I have read now several Amish authors, and I don't love all of the ones that I've read. There are some good ones out there, but I keep coming back to my favorite because I think of all of them, she writes the one, well, she's the original, and hers have the best Christian evangelical message in her books, and that is Beverly Lewis. So I did a whole video about her last year. I also read this one, The Fiddler. I read the first 2 in this series. There's 5, and I want to finish this series, and I have been collecting quite a few Beverly Lewis books. In fact, I've got a Christian fiction book haul coming up very soon, and I'll show you more. These are some I already had on the shelf. These are some standalones, I believe, and I have got quite a collection now of Beverly Lewis. I've read several of her books, but I want to read them all, and so I'm excited to get to these. And then right up there with Beverly Lewis, but maybe in my opinion not quite on the same level, is Wanda Brunstetter. Arguably both of these ladies really started the Amish romance subgenre, and I have several books by Wanda Brunstetter that I would like to read. Mainly, I've got these 2 big bind-ups, and they're taking up a lot of space on my shelf, so I need to get them read. One of these was gifted to me. I think this one from one of my subscribers. I think it was Twana Callahan. Thank you so much for this. And this one I found, I think, in our little free library downtown. So anyway, if I can find these on audio, which I think they're on Hoopla, then I want to get through those, as well as a few others by Wanda Brunstetter that I have on my shelves in April. Now, I won't get all of those done just in that week of Amish in April, but I'll spend the whole month of August and get through as many of those as I can. Then, moving on to the next box. So that's April. Then in May, I will be reading middle grade in May. And I've got 2 middle grade authors that I have quite a bit of books by on my shelf. Both are authors that I have read and really enjoyed, and I have several of their books that I haven't read. One of them is Gary Paulsen. I love his Hatchet Brian series, and I just think it's fantastic. Also, I love Lawn Boy. Lawn Boy is so good. And I've got several more by him, and a lot of the ones that they have on Hoopla are not the ones that I own, but I will definitely get through as many of the ones on Hoopla as I own, and then others, maybe like this one, Tracker. I think this is on audio, but it's 90 pages, so I could just read that. And then on Scribd, I noticed they have a few Sharon Creech books. I read a lot of Sharon Creech back when my kids were young, and I just really enjoyed them. This is the one I remember loving the most, Ruby Holler. I would love to reread it. This is one of her newer ones, The Great Unexpected. I have not ever read it, and there are others. There is one, something about a red bird. Can't even remember the title, but that one I want to read. So there are several by her. Now May is going to be when the Sunshine State list will have just been announced at the end of April. So I will spend some audiobook time listening to the Sunshine State books that have just been announced. But other than that, I'd like to listen to those. So then, what do we have next? June. So June is going to be the month of Lori. I've got 3 authors whose names start with Lori. 2 of them are Christian fiction authors, and one of them is a little bit wilder. In fact, it's Lori Wilde. Now, I have read one of her books. I read The Sweetheart Knitting Club, and I liked it okay. Her books can get a little bit steamy, at least I believe, but I think they're not over the top like some I have read. And when I read that first book in the Twilight Texas series, I thought, it was okay, but I probably wouldn't read any more. Well, then I kept seeing these super cute, pretty covers, and all from the Twilight Texas series. In fact, a lot of them are Christmas themed. I just kept picking them up. I would see them at a library sale, and I would think, I read the first one. I should give it another try. So now I've pretty much collected the whole series. So I just noticed that a lot of them are on Hoopla. So yay, I can listen to these. Now, in case these get a little steamy, I may listen to these first. That way I've got the down home Lories, what should I say? The lighter Lories, the less steamy Lories that I can listen to, so that I can sort of cleanse the palate. Hold on one second. All right, I had a notification coming up. So my sister sent me this one by Lori Copeland, and I think I already had a copy. So this is definitely one that I want to get to. Roses Will Bloom Again, and just several others. I have read some of her series, but all of these I believe are standalones. And even though I read quite a bit by her that I could get on the Audible Escape package back in October of 2020, I still have plenty more Lori Copeland on my shelf that I want to get to. And then another Lori that I've been collecting is Lori Wick. And again, I read several of hers last year too, but I have so many more. The series that I've been most interested in, look at these covers. Leave a Candle Burning. This is the Candlewood, is it Candlewood trilogy? That sounds like, no, Tucker Mills trilogy. Candlewood trilogy is by a different Christian author, Delia Parr. All right, so Leave a Candle Burning, Just Above a Whisper, and Moonlight on the Mill Pond, and maybe not in that order. But anyway, these just look beautiful. I've also got several other books by her, and the goal is to read at least 4 books by each of these authors that are on my list. And then for... so that was June. So for July, I believe I have 2 authors for July, and then only 1 for August. So since I'm so overloaded in June with 3, if some of them taper on into into August, that's fine. But one of the authors that I have picked out for July has written, I don't even know, way over 100 books, and I've only read maybe 50 of them, and that's Debbie Macomber. So I have collected several of hers. I always said I didn't collect Debbie Macomber, but I've ended up now with quite a bit on my shelves, and I don't need to keep these. Once I read them, I can let these go. And I've got this whole Heart of Texas series. There's more than just this, and that's one series I want to get to, perhaps the Navy series, and there's just so many others. Scribd has a whole bunch of her classics on Scribd, so I'll get to as many of those as I can before they cut me off. And I just want to get to several of the Debbie Macomber books because I've got to, I'm kind of competing. Not really. Chloe from Always Booked, when she did a video about her most read authors, she said at that point she had read 75 Debbie Macomber books, and when I counted, I had only read like 40 something, and I told her then that I was going to beat her. I had made it a goal that I was going to, you know, get my number above hers. And then I just saw in her series wrap up that she read some more in 2020 that I didn't even hear her talking about. So she may be, even though she hasn't said it, she may be trying to stay ahead of me. Anyway, it's just fun. So then the other author for that month, I don't have as many by, but I do have several, and I've read a few already, and that is Colleen Coble. The one I'm most interested in reading this year is the Aloha Reef series. I've got books 1 and 2 here. Distant Echoes and Black Sands. I've got several other books by her, and those are the two that these are the ones I will start with and then go from there. And then for August, in honor of my siblings, I am going to read some books in honor of my siblings. So my sister has given me at least 4 Mary Higgins Clark books, and I was able to find all of these on audio, and so I'm going to listen to these. And then I forgot to bring it in here, but my brother and sister both have birthdays in August, so that's kind of why I picked August to read these. And then in honor of my brother, I am going to read Pillars of the Earth. We kind of talked about, and that's, of course, by Ken Follett. We talked about in our book club that we would sort of make that a bonus read this year, that we would kind of, you know, anybody who wanted to read it could kind of read on it all throughout the year. And I can get it on audio, so I thought since my brother has been recommending that book to me for I don't know how long, that this would be a great time to read that. And then if I have time, I will go ahead and start the second one. I kind of doubt I will because it's a pretty big chunker, but still I think that will be a really neat thing to do, is to read in honor of my siblings, because why not? And then I'll be able to chat with them about the books and tell them happy birthday at the same time. Okay, so that's for August. So I really just have one that I'm binging. And then, well, you know, the Ken Follett books are so big. If I just read those 2, that's about the same amount of pages. It's probably more pages than if I read all 4 of these. So, anyway. But then the next month will be, see, that's August. So the next month will be September. And I'm going to have to do some shuffling around. Okay, so for the month of September, I want to go back and revisit an author that I read extensively in my early 20s, well, mid-20s maybe. I remember being out of college when I had moved to Florida and I was on my first job. One of my coworkers introduced me to an author that she had just discovered named Janette Oak. And I started reading the Love Comes Softly series, which you can see right here, and got my mom into reading them, and we just read everything we could get our hands on in the way of series books by Janette Oak. And then eventually, when she started writing the series with T. Davis Bunn called Song of Acadia, or is it Heirs of Acadia? I always mix them up. Anyway, I read all of these, and they're, to this day, my favorite series by her. So I realized a while back that I have never read the standalone books by Janette Oak. Now, if you look them up, they're listed as being in a series called Women of the West, but they're all standalone books. The publisher just grouped them in a series. I don't think they relate to each other in any way at all, except that they're all about, you know, pioneer women in the Canadian West. So, anyway, I might just read them in order just for the sake of getting through them all, systematically reading them. The first one is The Calling of Emily Evans, and I have not ever read this. Like I said, I haven't read any of these, but I would like to revisit some of the other books that I have already read, like maybe the last couple of books from the Acadia series by her and T. Davis Bunn, because then in that same month, I would like to go on then and read the other Acadia series. I always forget which is which. All right, this is The Heirs of Acadia. So the Janette Oak series is Song of Acadia. Then T. Davis Bunn wrote this series with his wife. It's a spin-off series called Heirs of Acadia, and there are 5 or 6 books in this series. I have all of them. I think I can get most of these on audio, and I would love to read this series. And he's got some other standalone books. Now, I've read a couple of other books by him that aren't part of the Acadia series, but this one I was just looking at. I've had it on my shelf a while, and not only is it compared to Jan Karen's Mitford books, it also is blurbed by Debbie Macomber. So, wow, that's high praise. This must be fantastic, and I can't wait to read it. So then for October, we have Victober, so I decided I would continue on in October with Emily Brightwell. I only have this bind-up of the Mrs. Jeffries series by Emily Brightwell, which I have read already. And then moving on down through that series, the next book I own is book 20, and then a few more books in the 20s. But most of them are on Hoopla, and I don't plan to collect any more of them, but I would like to go ahead and just binge on the series, get through as many as I can. I really enjoyed these first 3. They were a lot of fun. And then the other author that I want to read several of in October is Neal Shusterman. Now, he has a series that I hardly ever hear anybody talk about, and it's the Accelerati trilogy, and the first book is called Tesla's Attic. I just checked out this second book from the library. This one and the third one, this one is called Edison's Alley, and the third one is called Hawking's Hallway. These are all on these books 2 and 3 are on Hoopla, and I'll have another video coming up soon about middle grade trilogies that I want to finish this year, and this is one of them. So not only do I want to finish this trilogy, I also want to finish the Scythe trilogy, and I have read the first one, and I have books 2 and 3 purchased already in my Audible account, just waiting for the right time to get to those. And so I'm hoping to get to some Neal Shusterman in October of this coming year. Now, you may have noticed me saying Neal Shusterman. How long have I been talking about doing a video about authors' names? I realized when I watched an interview of him that his name is not Neal Shusterman. Everybody says Neal Shusterman, and I can't tell exactly if it's Shusterman or Shusterman, but it's definitely not Shusterman. What's the difference of all of those? It's very tiny. But anyway, every time I think I'm ready to do that video, then I learn about a new author. And so I'm still researching that, and that is something that I want to do, hopefully, in 2021. Anyway, the next author, I just have one for November, and it's because she's got some chunkers, and I'm going to want to read some nonfiction anyway, and these are not nonfiction, so I'm not going to have as much time to binge an author, but I have a few Francine Rivers books on my shelves that I would like to read, and this is a couple of them, Her Mother's Hope and Leota's Garden. Now, I have read several books by Francine Rivers. There are a couple of others that I don't have that I would like to read. So whatever I can get my hands on, I know that there are several on Hoopla, and I will listen to these if I can find them, and any others that I have time for. And then in December, I picked this author because I have several Christmas books by her, but then all of the Christmas books that are on Hoopla are not the books that I own, so I don't know if I'll get to any of her Christmas books, but the author is Melody Carlson. The series that I'm most interested in reading by her, I still need to find book 1. This is the, something about pines. I have to put my glasses on. It's terrible when your eyes get so bad you can't see without them. Whispering Pines is the series, and I've got these 3, but I'm still missing the first one. I don't know if I can find these on audio, but I would love to start that series. What I did find on Hoopla is this book right here, Back Home Again. This is a guidepost book. This is the very first book in the Tales from Grace Chapel Inn series. It's a series written by multiple authors, but there are some of these that are on Hoopla, on audio. So why not just go ahead and start this series, because I can get this one on audio. It gives me a little bit of anxiety to think about starting a huge series in December, because I feel like in December I should be finishing things, not starting them, but still, it's going to take definitely a long time to finish Tales from Grace Chapel Inn, because there's like I don't know, I think there's over 40 books maybe in that series. There's a lot. And that's it. Those are the authors that I want to binge read in the year 2021. Now, I do have one alternate in case something doesn't pan out with one of these authors, or what, for whatever reason, or if I end up having extra time and I can fit in another one, I might want to binge read some Joanne Fluke thrillers. Now, Joanne Fluke is known for her Hannah Swenson baking mysteries, which I'm all caught up with, but she also has these thrillers, and I have several on my shelf that I think I could read and then move out. And so this is just one of them. I just grabbed one off the stack, and these are on Hoopla, on audio. So if I can get to those, maybe during March Mystery Madness or something, then I will. So, what do you think? Do you think that binging authors is a good idea? Is it something you've ever done? Would you ever do it? The ultimate goal is, you know, I'd like to be able to read some of these and then be able to move them out. Now, I know that some of these are favorite authors. They're authors I've collected that I will probably hang on to. Like, I have this big Janette Oak collection here. My mom got me started collecting these, and I will probably keep those. And then at some point when I'm dead and gone, Katie can get rid of them then. But, you know, I don't know. I know that I need to make some space. Now, probably what's going to make more space is if I can just read and get rid of some of the single books that I have that don't have anything to do with another, you know, a series or another author. But for right now, this just seems like a good starting place, and I think it'll be a fun project to do this year. So if you have any projects for 2021 involving authors, let me know. And if you are interested in any of these authors in particular, let me know that as well. I am thinking that as I binge and sort of read all I'm going to read by a particular author, that I will do some videos. I will do a video about each of these authors and just sort of spotlight them and their books, and you know, I just think that will be a fun series. So that's all for this video. Talk to me in the comments. I hope you are having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.